remember, we're going to ask you all to limit your questions. Representative Landry is going to place the mic right at the bottom of the little area of the stage. And any questions that you may have, we are ready to answer those questions.
Let me just say before we get started, I've served under 2 governors in the legislature. I've served in capacities with 4 governors in the state of Louisiana. In this room just a few minutes ago was all the major staff members from the governor, from the commission, from the administration, all the way down to deputy secretaries, deputy chief of staff. And I think it says something about this governor's commitment to people that have full sometimes we forget about the little things, but the little things really matter. So I think that's his commitment, not only to the state, but to this area that he brings his whole staff here. So we're going to open up. Again, we ask you to be mindful, be respectful, and we'll start.
Just want to commend all of you, and I know each of you. You may not know me, but I know your history. We thank you for being here. I have 2 questions, and it's just the questions, and I'll sit. I won't stand here and wait for the answers because I know you're going to give them to me. I voted since 1979 when I turned 18 in every election. So the facts and the communication and the things that are viable to our citizens of Louisiana is in your hands. Early child care funding. Think about that. Where are we going to get that? We need that for our young children. This month is Community Action Month. 50 years in this particular community, 54 years over the national partnership. And I'm saying that because we have a lot of programs that should not be affected to help these people just because somebody doesn't like what side of town they live on or what side of town the actual building is on. So remember, when you're looking at all of what we have to do this week and in the 6 weeks, that you look at early child care funding, you look at programs that can help and identify all of the people, mental health, behavioral issues, community action, etc. I'm just saying. Thank you.
We 110% agree with you, and once the bills for this special session become public, I think you'll be happy to see what's in bill in terms of dedication to early childhood.
Thank you.
I also like to say that I served on Education Committee for all the years I've been in the legislature now. That's been one of the major issues that we've been facing with all the cuts that come in for the CCAP money from the federal government. What I say is the misuse of our TANF dollars, because we give our TANF dollars to everything else in the world that's supposed to be for children. And unfortunately, we've run short of that money, but definitely we're getting more money from the federal government on CCAP money, which is very good. It's coming in. Hopefully it'll be used the right way. You've heard from Representative James, but we do have early child care as a first priority in education for us, especially those who have been an educator, who know that early childhood is the foundation for our children. So definitely it's on our radar screen.
I think the second issue was on mental health. And I'm going to tell you that mental health is one of the biggest issues that we're going to face in the next couple of years, because whether it relates to education or it relates to prison reform or our prisons, look, we have a lot of people in our prisons who don't really belong in prisons at all. They really belong in mental health facilities. And, you know, when we're talking about the opioid crisis, that goes back to mental health. And when we talk about some of these other drugs where people are self-medicating because they have mental health issues, we don't necessarily take the same positions on those. So I would just encourage you to tell your local law enforcement agencies, your local district attorneys, that when we're talking about mental health, let's make it a holistic approach that affects everyone.
Senator here, the senator, I'm gonna call him the senior senator because he's our leader in the legislative delegation here. He's co-host of this. He was at another event, but we certainly want to give him a chance to welcome you. Senator Goodrow.
Andrew, I want to thank y'all for coming out today. I want to my colleagues, welcome. It's real important that we show unity because we've always done it, but it's important that other people see it. I know the governor left. I was at an event in Sunset where the lieutenant governor was there. And we got to form coalitions, we got to form partnerships, and we got to get this done. We can't do it alone. We're going to have to get everyone. And I guess just without being redundant and not hearing what everybody else said, the partnerships that we talk about, we got to empower you to make sure that you hold us accountable. If you leave here today, if you leave the 1 o'clock presentation and think it's going to get done, we're going to all be disappointed. So I think as we turn the page, as we move into this ninth session in 3 years, I'm going to ask you to do your part and hold us accountable, but hold those other folks who can't find any way to compromise, can't find any way to take care of our people, whether it's in the nursing home, the hospital, or healthcare, or our students with TOPS. So thank you, and it's about you being here today. It's about empowering you to make sure that our state moves forward. So to again, all of my colleagues that serve in the House, we're a team. We need the community to be behind us, and we need the community to stay engaged in this process. Thank you, and God bless.
Thank you, Senator. Again, I can remind you again, again, we know the issues. If you have a specific question, let's try to keep our comments to a question and not a personal issue. I know everybody has an issue, but let's look at it from a holistic perspective. Thank you, kindly.
Hello, how y'all doing? My name is Melvin Mitch Richard from Caucus, Louisiana. I own a PCS company. I take care of the elderly and the disabled. And when I'm around, because I see you guys, I feel some hope. As I walk through the community, as I work with the elderly, as I work with the sick people, I feel so hopeless. It's like there's no help. We don't have no help. And I'm asking y'all to pay us for our work. We're not being paid. I haven't gotten a check in 2 years, 3 years. I haven't gotten any profit at all. All the money that we get goes toward either the little extra money we get either goes toward insurance, taxes. We're not being paid. Please, y'all, look into this here. The PS, Medicaid PS services. We not being paid at all. I mean, it's like we should not have to beg, borrow, and steal to take care of our sick people. And that's what we are. We got to beg, borrow, and steal to take care of our elderly sick people that's flat on their back. A lot of them are flat on their back. Please, y'all. My name is Melvin Mitch Richard. Melvin Richard, you know me as Mitch. Y'all, please help us. Help us, please. We don't have we're not doing things, and we're struggling to take care of the sick people. And I have a home where I'm taking people with mental illness. And mental illness, when you're taking care of mental illness, you're taking care of babies. They're babies. I mean, we're not being babies, y'all. If y'all can do anything to help us, my phone number, my office number is area code 337-594-29. Please.
Let me let a couple of members. We got a couple of members sit on the committee for health and welfare. We'll let them address the issue. Katrina Jackson, Representative.
Thank you. We have been attempting to address the issue of Medicaid reimbursement. It calls on a variety of companies and individuals who serve our most vulnerable constituency. Louisiana currently has, as you know from your struggle in your company, one of the lowest reimbursement, Medicaid reimbursement rates in the nation. That's why it's so important as we go into special session that we advocate, and as you talk to individuals outside of this room and other representatives and senators, that we advocate to fill the entire deficit. Because the significance in our Medicaid reimbursement rate is we have not been able to put up the total state match to get our rates up to the other states, and other companies that do the same, offer the same services as you and other states are thriving because their states offer a higher reimbursement rate. You and others are set at a very low reimbursement rate. What we're needing is to fill that deficit so we can begin the true conversation about raising reimbursement rates, because that's where you and other companies are really suffering. And that's something that has to happen through the Department of Health, the Louisiana Department of Health budget. And so you're going to see here a lot of advocacy this session about only raising $300 million or $500 million. We have to reach that $640 million mark before we can have a real conversation with our colleagues about the reimbursement rate. But we've heard from a number of companies across the state who serve Medicaid individuals and the rate, and we're seeing access to health care in all areas becoming a serious issue because of that. And so we share that concern with you. The Caucus has spoken on that a number of times in our meetings regarding the Medicaid reimbursement rate, but it's going to start this session with ensuring that the deficit is made whole, Louisianians are made whole, so we can start the real conversation about your reimbursement rate.
I would have to agree with Representative Jackson. I know for myself, it's not just the Lafayette issue or a Baton Rouge issue. It's throughout the state, and so we've been getting many calls from constituencies who either doing behavioral health or Medicaid reimbursement, and all of those concerns have not fallen on the deaf ears. I want to tell you that we're looking at putting something together to speak with DHH about those reimbursements, but not only that, we're going to have to fund our budget first. And once we fund the budget, we're going to look at a process that we think is fair, because there's a lot of people who are being, their monies are being withheld by these different companies, and I don't think that the accountability is there. And so I look forward to working this session and the coming session with doing something to correct those wrongs. So we do hear from not only you, but many people throughout the state. And I've been working with Representative Jackson because she does serve on the health committee.
Good morning. My name is Portia Evans. It is so good to see the people that represent me all in one room in this state. I am so proud of you for standing with our governor. As I understand it, in this budget crisis that we're facing, it seems that on one side they said, okay, let's do away with Medicaid and higher education. Then on the other side they said, okay, we'll give you your Medicaid, but we'll take away your food stamps. We are very concerned all over the state about those issues. We are concerned here in Lafayette about the University Medical Center staying open. We are very, very concerned about people receiving their food stamp benefits, those who need them, even with stipulations. I don't want to be the only state in the United States not to have a food stamp program. Please continue to fight with our governor. And I just want to applaud Governor John Bell Edwards again for vetoing what was coming. Good luck to you. And God bless you. For the Word of God says, what you do for the least of mine, you do for me.
Yeah, we appreciate those insightful comments because as a state, as legislators, as leaders, we have a duty to not only provide for self-sufficiency, but for sustainment of those who are disenfranchised. But just keep in mind that all the pros that were spoken about earlier and that the last speaker mentioned are revenue-driven, and the state. The most important thing that this state can do right now is to reverse the trend of the falling deficit that state's facing and raise the revenues needed to provide for the critical and vital services of this state, which hasn't been done, wasn't done under General for 7 years or 8 years. Now this particular governor, now our governor is trying to reverse that trend and bring Louisiana back into a level of progressive prosperity. You can't solve problems with the same level of thinking that creates the problem. So we have to make sure that we undertake the hard task of raising the revenues that the state needs to be able to provide those critical services to make Louisiana the great state that it can be. And I ask you to contact your legislators to ask them to do their duty to perform their jobs, to make sure that we raise revenues that the state needs to be able to ensure that the critical services are maintained at an adequate level.
Propagation and enablement of people who think white supremacy is okay to tolerate. While our efforts are gaining support exponentially, we would like you, the Louisiana Legislators Black Caucus, to become a supporter as well. Yeah. I'm here today to thank you for your political and humanitarian position, spending hours furiously debating in 2017 and passionately denouncing Representative Carley's House Bill 71 and ultimately walking out of the House chamber in protest. Thank you. Ask that you show the same denouncement of the existence of the Jim Crow statute here in Lafayette. We request that the Louisiana Legislative Black Caucus support our efforts through a written proclamation denouncing Lafayette's Jim Crow symbol of hatred and white supremacy. We humbly request your assistance. You assist us by standing by our side as we strive to challenge the public, political, and private sources who seemingly oppose racial equality. Please join us by issuing the proclamation of support we are requesting. As Representative Landry said, you are our last line of defense. Please join in support of our efforts to move the mindset.
I think you know where we as the Legislative Black Caucus stand on that particular issue. We have fought very hard and we continue to fight to eradicate symbols and images that pay tribute to a racist past. I think Louisiana needs to turn the corner as the rest of the country has. And that particular issue, particularly that statue is on city, I will assume city property, would have to be undertaken by city ordinance as the city of New Orleans did. But I assure you, the Black Caucus will stand with you and will assist and support in any way to make sure that symbol is eradicated and no other symbols will be able to will be erected to replace it, because we have to move past that.
Will you provide a statement denouncing the statute, sir?
We provide that statement on many occasions. We will continue to provide that. We will continue to stand in that position, and we will continue to advocate that position.
I would appreciate if you would specifically denounce the statute here in Lafayette. We recognize, in recognition of the efforts that the citizens of Lafayette are making.
We will specifically support your position in Lafayette and anywhere else in the state that seems that will perpetuate statues that pay tribute to a racist past that Louisiana has taken great steps to erase and eradicate.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Brayshaw mentioned that we walked out on a vote on one of our colleagues about statues. I can't remember in modern time that the caucus as a whole walked out of the legislature, and I was very, very proud of these individuals.
Hello, good morning. My name is Ann Burris, and Representative Pierre is my representative. Thank you all for being here. I'd like to thank Representative Pat Smith and the other legislators who've been on the education committees. Thank you so much for your work and taking care of the K-12 education budget, keeping it relatively stable. My question is about, there was an April 9th article in the Baton Rouge Advocate. The headline was, state scores significantly dropped. It wasn't on the LEAP test, it was on the NAEP test, which is the National Assessment of Educational Progress, which is a nationwide test given to a statistical sample of children in each state, so states can compare how they're doing, and then we can be compared among states. We dropped from around 43rd to 48th or 50th, and that is an injustice to our children. That is a true injustice. And so my question is, what specific ideas do y'all have to help increase the pre-K and K-12 budget? Stable is good, but we really need increases here in this state. And also to turn the focus to the children so that each child can really thrive in this state. Thank you.
Just a brief comment. That NAEP score was pretty startling across the whole state, and of course the superintendent made a statement that it was due to the fact that many of our children were taking the test for the first time on a computer, and that's unconscionable. The fact that we don't have the technology in our classrooms and we've not been able to get even broadband in some of our school systems for them to be able to take these state tests that are necessary for us to be competitive across the country. So I do definitely feel that we need to be definitely competitive, but we need to make sure that our classes have all the tools and resources that our teachers and our students need for them to be able to take the test to be competitive. As far as ideas, we can present all the ideas we want in the legislature, but Bessie kind of does what they want to do. So we have to do our darndest to make sure that our teachers, our superintendents, our principals, and all are on the same page when it looks at the fact that our children really are our most precious resource that we have in the state of Louisiana, and the foundations that we need to be building those foundations every single day in our classrooms. We need to make sure that programs are put in place in our school districts that don't negate what children learn over a school year, but complement them over a summer so that they're prepared for the next year. So definitely we will be looking at how we as a legislature, as well as the Education Committee, and serving on the Education Committee is kind of hard because of the fact of the makeup of the committee. There are only 5 of us, 5 of us on that committee that really look at traditional schools and really want to make sure that those schools really are funded and keeping that funding where it should be. So, but we're looking at the programs that are across the state, and we will be doing our best to make sure that our input is heard.
Good morning, and it's ideal to have you all here. My name is Sister Khadijah. For a quick commercial, I'm on 88.3 FM today from 1 until 3. If any of the representatives would like to come on and voice your opinion, the door is open today only. And by the way, I wanted to say that to Governor Edwards, I wanted to actually ask him why did he appoint Judge Kung on the pardon board. There's 5 people that's on the pardon board, and they each get like $35,000 themselves, plus fees, extra fees that they have. He, and I'm saying it to you, or whoever it is, he is ridiculous being on that pardon board. And I just wanted to ask Governor Edwards what possessed him to put Judge Cook on that board. Another quick question is that with Louisiana having the highest incarceration rate in the world, with us unjustly denying parole eligibility to many of our prisoners, many of whom are first offenders, we also we are 30% of the population, but yet 75% incarceration. I wanted to, of course, thank Representative Landry, Miss Patricia, and the others who have worked diligently on prison reform for deserving inmates. And I just wanted to find out what in the future do y'all need from us, or y'all would be available to do on behalf of deserving prisoners. In closing, we had here in Lafayette, Louisiana, someone that was he killed one person, he paralyzed the other person, and he wounded the other person. That young man was able to be out within 2 years. And so what I'm saying is that even though I didn't want to say, you know, a lot of times when you're Caucasian, things are much easier, and when you have money, things are much easier. Those are some of the stipulations that we have to bring in at the table. If the judge, which was Judge Rubin, have the audacity to do that, well, then some of the other judges should have a little bit more audacity to do that and more. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Khadijah. I definitely wasn't trying to take the mic from you, Sister. I know you. Pat, you want to talk about criminal justice reform? Well, she had posed a couple of questions. And listen, everyone on this stage has been an advocate for prison reform. All of us. No exception. I just happen to be the trip card for the other side, the sheriffs and the DA, because they thought I was going to be a rubber stamp coming from the law enforcement community. But the devil was in the details. And we raised hell with it. I was fortunate to serve on the task force, the Criminal Justice Reinvestment Task Force. I'm also fortunate to sit on the Reinvestment Oversight Committee, which is another story. We don't have enough time to talk about that, but we're trying to find some funding opportunities for those nonprofits, for those church groups who are doing work that government refused or can't do, and been doing it for years and years and years. And there's a lot of parishes out there that are doing some things, and the Department of Correction took the major cities with the highest contribution to the penal justice system. But let me just say this: what do we do? You have to continue to be advocates. You have to continue to be engaged. You have to continue to be at the Capitol when you can. The advocacy groups, VOLT, and all those groups have really made a difference in this criminal justice reform. Those individuals who we don't have the questions for, governor's staff is here. I'm sure they're taking notes, and we'll get those answers back to you through your legislature. But we have to stay engaged because there was an attempt to roll back some of the criminal justice initiatives. We were able to ward them off. When I say we're the last line of defense, would not be for the people at this stage, we would roll back some of the initiatives. But let me say this. Let me just say this. We have judges races, we have district attorney races, and we have sheriff races. And we break down the street to get there. And we're voting for people who are part of the problem, not part of the solution. I put that on you.
Sister Khadijah, I don't know where she's in the back. I like the way you stood up to Terry Lane. You need to come back and get on the bus with you. But a couple things, and Terry mentioned some very important things, but with all the work that we did last year, the folks on the other side are working equally as hard to roll those things back. And we were able to fight some of those things, but know that they will come back. And then the next fight is for us to include violent offenses in a lot of what we're able to do. Because it's extremely hard to advance things. When you look at all of the good things, you have to look at what we exempted out, and a lot of those were violent offenders. And then I would encourage you to get some folks that are elected in the legislature on your side that don't look like us. And I say that last week, 2 weeks ago, I had a Senate bill that dealt with those that were serving juvenile life. That we were trying to give the judge just an option to give those young people parole. I presented the bill, I think I got 35 votes. The next week, a white male presented the bill and it passed. It happens a lot. And I'll tell you that it's important that, while we in the legislative body, you're looking at the heart and the soul and the conscience of the body, but sometimes we need other folks to get instruments passed. So I'll tell you that bill, there was a mother there whose son was impacted, and she was there every single day telling her story. And sometimes that's the needed push that needs to happen to diversify the support at the legislature and to bring that personal experience, because a lot of times those issues, morality isn't moral if it comes from some of us or some of our colleagues. It has to come from some people that they feel more comfortable with. I'm getting real but that's just the reality of the body in which we serve. So in your push, make sure that you're reaching out to other folks as well.
And it's very important to understand on these board and commission appointments. I know you talked about Judge Kuhn, who I've been before on the parole board. Is this Governor Edwards appoints those with the confirmation of the Senate, and also with the advice on some of those boards, particularly if they're on one appointment with the advice of the judiciary. And so some of those appointments are not blanketly his appointments, but they're done in configuration to ensure that all of those appointments are confirmed by the Senate. That board, with the exception of Judge Kuhn, is a 5-person board, and 4 of those board members are members that we are very proud of, understanding that sometimes in a 5-person board, your appointments are also with the confirmation of the Senate and advice of the judiciary for one of those, and so I think that accounts for the appointment of Judge Kuhn.
Just one quick thing, Mrs. Khadijah. I think because one of your questions was, what can we ask of you? And I'm going to say this, and I want to tie it in to the previous comment. You know, when we talk about the Confederacy and monuments, we all get behind that. Those are symbols of racism. We also need to talk about these institutions of racism. And so what we need you to do, we need you to vote in November on this unanimous jury. We need to identify other areas in education and then even in access to capital. Because look, let me tell you something. If you don't think predatory lending is an institution of racism, you don't think that redlining still exists, then you're fooling yourself. And these are the kind of things that we all try to try to help everyone. Thank you.
And let me just say, Representative Pat Smith has been a champion for reform. She experienced the same thing that Representative James did. It wasn't the message, it was the messenger. So we understand that but Pat has been a champion for prison reform. I admire her tenacity and her courage and her persistence, because she just wouldn't let them turn around. She just would not stop. So, Pat, we love you and thank you for that. And let me say this. I've also been told sometimes good legislation takes several times before it passes. I brought the death penalty bill last year, missed it by 1 vote. Brought it again this year, missed it by 1 vote. Brought the assault ban on assault weapons. We come pretty close. But we're not going to be turned around, and we're not going to be denied, and we're not spurred.
Good morning. My name is Gloria Nye, and I'm a volunteer with CASA of St. Landry Evangeline Parish. And I'm here today to speak for, as of last month, the end of last April, 4,465 children in Louisiana in foster care who were abused and neglected, and through no fault of their own, they are in foster care homes. And they cannot speak for themselves because the average age of those children is 5. And they can't speak to the judge because their average age is 5. So the CASA program, as you know, provides community, volunteers who actually work one-on-one with the children and speak to the judge, and they are the eyes and ears of the judge for that child. That child's future is in the hands of this budgeting process. Our judicial budget, the proposal was more than a $50 million cut, and that would eliminate programs that provide for the most vulnerable citizens in Louisiana. And I come today to thank you for your support. You're our lifeline, and to ask you to not give up because these children are counting on you, and thank you so much.
With the help of the caucus, I chair judiciary. We have a number of members that serve on judiciary and are very helpful, but I would say this, that every year that your judiciary budget has been cut is inclusive of CASA, and this caucus has voted unanimously in both chambers to add back funding for CASA, and I think we've had to do that for the last 3 years, and we continue to stand as advocates for CASA.
Senator Barrow from Regina Barrow, who was one of our former colleagues who moved over to the other side of the Senate, just walked in, and we want to give her an opportunity to make a comment and introduce herself.
Good afternoon, or good morning, everybody, and I do apologize. My grandson and I drove in from Baton Rouge this morning, but I just want to share how important it is that we have these type of meetings and hearings, and that we have an opportunity to hear from you, and that you have an opportunity to hear from us. And I'm not going to ask for a show of hands, but I just want to know how many of you guys know who actually represent you in the House and the Senate. And if you don't know who they are, then I want you to make that a part of your business. Then the second thing I want to challenge you with is to follow them as they vote. Look at their voting record and hold them accountable. Give them a call and let them know how you feel about however they voted on a particular issue. Oftentimes during the election season, that's when you see many elected officials. Not us, because we are always in the community. But sometimes you don't see those individuals until it's election time. And I would encourage you to go back and look at their voting record to see how they have voted on issues that are important to you. And then to ask them questions about what their positions are, what are their moral standards, what are the things that actually are their guiding light as they make decisions. And then that will help you to determine whether or not they are the right person for the job. Because at the end of the day, and this may have been already shared, voting matters. Having the right person at the right time is so very important. Because I can tell you this, and I'm going to take my seat after this. I do thank God for Governor Edwards. There are some legislation that's moving through the process that, unfortunately, because we are the minority in both chambers, the only thing that may be our saving grace is veto power. And if he was not there, then I can tell you some things will actually go into law. So again, voting matters. Make sure that you know the voting track record of the individual that is asking for your vote. And sometimes there are various issues. So ask them the questions so you can understand the position as to why they voted a certain way. So again, thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it, and we would love to make sure that these conversations continue. You have excellent representatives and senators that are representing you here that I work with, serving with us down there in the legislature. I love serving with Gerald. Gerald and I serve in the Senate together. And let me tell you, when he speaks, he is like E.F. Hutton. Everybody listens.
We're going to ask you to condense it a little bit. Our time is creeping up on us, and some of these people came from a long distance. We want to ensure that they have something to eat before they get to UL. So if you can condense your comments, we much appreciate it. We want to give everyone an opportunity to talk.
Somehow I knew the time would get condensed when I get to the mic. But I'm going to be shorter than that. I also want to thank you for taking the time to come to the community to at least hear our return. I am Kuna Malana El-Shabazz, the president of CCBE, Conscientious Council of Black Elders. I want to just make a brief comment and a brief suggestion to you. In the vein of Brother Brown, in reference to the statute, I wholeheartedly support the removal of the statute and all the reasons that are purported why the statute should be removed. However, I am much more involved with the institutionalized aspect of racism. I believe the statute that produced the statute in the first place. And if we're going to remove the statute here in Lafayette, on one hand, that is a good thing. But if we continue to promote institutional racism, which the mindsets that produce the statute is intact and untouched, then we're not doing very much. I speak to the initiative that is now in Lafayette that is labeled cultural economics. Cultural economics is a scam on black people in which one culture will be promoted in the context of progress for all people and economic well-being for all people. The Cajun culture, it has nothing to do with black people. The Creole culture is an assigned culture based on the erroneous historical realities that we don't understand as it relates to the truth of what Creole actually means. In essence, in brief, Creole is the intellectual, historical, and cultural grafting of black people away from accepting their beautiful and African selves. So to accept any economic program under the cultural tourism concept and allow black folks to elevate themselves on the purported idea that somehow we're going to benefit economically is an illusion. So I say to you, and I ask you to study this issue, study the reality of the Creole issue, and you would see there is nothing beautiful or wholesome about our relationship to France as a black people, and that the concept Creole in itself in Portugal simply means one who slave was born in the house. It has nothing to do with any beautiful African historical realities that we already possess and should implement and magnify. We don't need somebody else to give us the culture, and we're certainly not Cajun. And lastly, the whole concept of Cajun in itself is the historical transfer of the N-word. That is not my opinion, that is not a political position, that is the study of the truth of history. So to have us, under the name of economics, to promote ourselves for economic reasons, to red vein, is cultural genocide. If you don't believe me, do your research and check the young people in the community. Young black boys and girls don't want to be black and African. They want to be Cajun or Creole. This is cultural genocide. And it promotes the issue in terms of the prison population. It does not promote the kind of educational platform that we need to have for our children. And economically, it is not going to be what we have been told that it's going to be. It is cultural genocide. I ask you to study this issue. Not take my opinion, not play political games with it, study the issue. And there are millions of dollars coming from the state and federal fund that's promoting this so-called cultural economic and is exclusionary as far as black folks are concerned. Thank
Brother, we know that you're passionate, and I've heard you speak many times, but you're right when I saw you, so I'm going to cut this short. Thank you very much.
Thank you all for being here today. My name is Kim Goodell. I'm the founder of an organization, Watermark Alliance. We're devoted to the protection and conservation and good management of our water resources here in Louisiana. Central to that mission is identifying leadership in all four sectors: community, government, business, and academia. The other day I read a national headline that said, Trump White House fears PR problem regarding drinking water standards. A PR problem. It's instead a water quality problem, and it's pervasive. It's across the country. I couldn't help but think of Louisiana. I've been following what we have been doing in Louisiana for at least a decade. The last 4 years, I followed very closely water bills that were introduced into our Louisiana legislative process. Some of you that ushered them are here today. I've watched those bills get reduced to a joke, and this is not a joke. I offer any assistance that I can give to any of you to get this problem resolved. Again, until we find the leadership, we have the science, we have the data, we have the know-how. Until we identify leadership in the community sector, in the government sector, in the business sector, and in academia, and all collaborate and come together, we are going to have people getting sick. We are going to continue to have the problems that we see today. One of the most disheartening things that I'm aware of is, in watching this process, is the legislative auditors in 2014 ordered by resolution that all of our municipal water facilities be studied in Louisiana. That report was done, it was completed in August of 2016. It doesn't look good. There's more to the problem than what has already been identified in that report. That report needs to be released, it needs to be disclosed, the public needs to understand what it means when over 350 of our municipal water facilities here in Louisiana basically need to be replaced. And I'm here to offer whatever assistance I can to any of you in this effort, because again, it takes the collaboration. We must develop good water policy. We're one of 5 states without a water code.
Thank you, Yes, Cynthia Buggage and Ms. Dr. Shavers get some information. This caucus has been on the forefront on some areas, St. Joseph and other areas, and it's a national crisis. Some say the next war is going to be about water.
I want to thank you for those comments. I'm sure you've been following our water bills and trying to get clean water throughout the state. It is certainly a challenge because I meet those challenges in the committee and they don't let those bills out of there. That's why you see the resolutions. I'm certainly looking for support anywhere I can get it as I face industries like Exxon who will not use the river water. I need support from everywhere because they should, because there is a saltwater intrusion in Baton Rouge and other areas of the state, and that is something that I'm certainly going to be on the forefront for. I'll get your information before I leave and give you my information as well. Anything you can do to assist me, I certainly would love to have that. But I had to pass a resolution because I couldn't pass the bill.
Right. No, I'm aware of
Again, we just get the information to our staff and we'll certainly help you with it, Ma'am Beth.
Hello, my name is Jean Thorne. I just want to thank each and every one of you. I have been to the Capitol several times, and I have to say that as far as I have observed, the Black Caucus is the only group of people actually voting for the people of Louisiana. So if you're not fortunate enough to have a representative on the Black Caucus, such as myself, who has de Villiers and Perry, and they will not answer my questions. My question to you is, how can I help? How can I help move things forward without the support of my representative?
You really need to get other constituents in their districts who think like you. Sometimes they don't respond to one call. I say this a lot in speeches, but after they get to 20, 30 to 100 calls, they respond. But if they don't respond to calls, just pick a day during the week to get all of your people who think like you're in their district and show up at their office and request to speak with them and say, we're not leaving until we speak with you. I think also that some ignore that, but bring the media with you, they speak to you real quick.
Their district, and they tell us, I'm speaking what my district is telling me to speak, and we know that not to be true. So you shame them and meet them where they are, because when you do that's when folks are going to respond. So you take that same group that after you leave his office, come and show up at the Capitol, and you fill out a card, and every committee that he's in, you go and introduce yourself and say, hey, remember me, I'm the one that showed up that you never called back. Do that every time until you get a response.
One of the other, there are two things too on this same topic. I don't know if you remember
got ready to change the name of the school in Natchitoches, we got thousands, hear me? Thousands of emails in our boxes. We aren't even connected to it, don't know too much about it, but whoever put that campaign on wore us out. I'm telling you. And it was something that caught our attention, and so it passed. The other thing that has not been discussed here today that you really need to be cognizant of is the fact that in a number of years, we're going to go through a redistricting process. And I'm telling you, this is very, very, very critical because the population in Louisiana is changing. And so it's going to be critical that not only when you move into the neighborhood you register to vote, it's just not good enough to say, we want you to do this, that, and the other, but you got to be a registered voter. And that's a critical thing. So in order to get your points across and your voices heard, you have to first be eligible to participate in the legislative process by voting. Redistricting is going to be a serious situation, and it is something that you need to spend the time to talk to your legislators to see where you are on that map and what could possibly happen to you in your district.
And lastly, I just want to add this. If your actions continue to render a deaf ear, run for office.
Yeah, those guys go unopposed, and I don't know why. But I think Senator Barrow makes a great point. Run for office, and how to get their attention.
Good morning. My name is Neva Butkus. I'm a policy analyst at the Louisiana Budget Project, so I'm here on behalf of the people of Acadiana as well as the entire state of Louisiana. So my question is unsurprisingly about the second special session. With the inevitable reliance on sales tax revenue to prevent these unacceptable cuts to education and healthcare, I've been doing a lot of research on the sales tax and who's going to most impact, and it's going to most impact lower income communities as well as communities of color who are going to pay a larger percentage of their income in the sales tax than the top, 10, 5, 1% of income earners in the state. So I'm wondering if there's anything you guys are planning to put in place that is going to combat that regressivity and make a more equitable tax system for the people of Louisiana.
Thank you for your question. I had a conversation with Jan on yesterday. I'm filing, and I know that many others, I think Wall is also filing an increase in the earned income tax credit. I believe, and I think it's the position of the caucus that if we're going to go sales tax route, we need to have certain provisions in place to protect those very fragile people that you talked about. The bill, the increase from 3 to 7 got out of the House a couple of years ago, and the legislation that I filed is taking it from 3 to 10. And I think that what you're going to see from the caucus is, if we are going to make a vote on the sales tax, it's going to come with some benefits to our people. And I think that the work that you guys are doing is so critically important. And I know you guys have the numbers, but what we're going to need is you to employ your foot soldiers as well, because we know the folks that we serve and how that's going to be an uphill challenge to get any of those increases. We talked about early childhood earlier. We talked about, I see a lot of teachers here. We're going to make sure that if it comes to the point where we have to vote on that sales tax, it's going to come at a benefit to the people that we represent. So thank you for your question.
And the caucus has advocated numerous times and told everyone who's asked regarding the sales tax that we're going to take a balanced approach to filling to plugging this deficit, which means that business and industry will pay as well as individuals. We've been in touch with the Department of Revenue. One thing that we have been clearing up is that 46% of that sales tax is paid by business and industry with the new numbers that came out. To the extent that 52% is paid by individuals, we're also looking at and about those cuts to haircuts to the tax exemption to continue those. And so our position has been that we will take a balanced approach to plugging this deficit, which means that individuals and business and industry and everyone will pay their fair share.
Ladies and gentlemen, we gave away $8 billion in tax credits and tax breaks in the state. $8 billion.
Hi,
name's Sarah Roy. Thank you guys so much for coming here today. I really appreciate you guys taking the time to do this. It means a lot. I'm a constituent of Mr. Pierre and Mr. Boudreaux, and I am 99% of the time totally in line with the way you guys vote. And I'm so proud to be one of your constituents and that you guys represent me. But there was one vote that happened that I was really dumbfounded by, and it was the recess bill. What happened to the recess bill? It was democratically primarily voted against. And I think, I know y'all are all shaking your head. I don't want to make any enemies. I love you guys and I work with you guys. I'm a public school teacher and I'm a parent, and I was up there with Leadership Lafayette and we got to lobby for a bill and I chose that one. And in my research, I showed that 20 years ago, we increased instructional minutes from 330 to 360, but we still remained on the bottom for NEEP scores. So apparently those instructional minutes weren't making a big difference in our testing. So I think our education system as a whole needs a big flip on its head. And I thought that was part of the way to do that and to educate the whole child. So explain to me why my people you voted against me.
So I should still have 100% with you because that bill never made it to the Senate.
Senator, that's pretty good. Well, that's a good question, a good point, and certainly we hear your concern about totally educating the child, the total child, and recess could have had that, but there were several, at least two, I think, that came through the committee, and again, you can jump in as well. But it was additional time added to the instructional time. And when we had people that represented education, principals, and so
not teachers on the ground.
well,
LAE was in support of this.
and teachers as well, and what we consider the subject matter expert, basically saying that was additional time. And one of the bills specified that you could take traditional educational time, and let it be part of the recess time. Well, it just didn't equate to having a more rigorous curriculum and having less time to prepare kids for that. So it didn't really work out. It wasn't fully mechanically possible to do exactly what the legislator had in mind. They may have had good intentions, but all of the resources that came with it that was going to be needed was not addressed properly, and we could not actually pass that because not enough time in the day. And certainly there are those that's on the committee that can speak much more in depth about it, deeper than I can, like Representative Smith would, for sure. But it wasn't anything that we were trying to deny the development of the job. It was that it was already there. It's not enough time to do what's there with all the mandates. I think somebody said the unfunded mandate, and that ultimately was going to be additional costs, overtime, principals, teachers, a whole lot of other things, or exclude the critical things that were already part of the curriculum. So it wasn't anything harm. It was voted on, didn't make it out of the committee because it wasn't fully vetted in a way that it should have been as far as funding. The representative, the school board spoke against it, but when I said principals, those were organizations, school and educators, the leaders of those educational organizations spoke against it. It was basically no one really could support additional 30 minutes in a school day, 5 days a week for recess. That was the problem.
And if I could just chime in, the issue for me really is what you just said. There needs to be a revamp of the entire process. And you can't just demand that certain amount of time is taken away from education for recess when some are doing something so differently in every different district. And of course you realize the charters wanting no part of it. And we have to actually force them to actually be a part of that. So when we talk about doing something such as dynamic as looking at time away from instruction, it really has to be a concerted effort. And those individuals who were against it should be at the table to tell you how it should be done. My major concern was a bill that the school lunch shaming bill that was voted down. That was the one that concerned me more than anything, when our children are being not given lunch in the lunchroom because they don't, their parents aren't paying for their lunch. So we've got a lot of work to do in education, a whole lot. And I think that it's important that we get together and try to do that.
Okay, well, this is our last comment and question.
Thank you. My name is Greg Davis, and I'm a constituent of Lafayette Parish. And I want to thank all of you for coming here, and thank you for being that last line of defense, because I do believe that you are the last line of defense for the people that need the most help in Louisiana. Without you being there, the people that need the most help will not have a voice in the state legislature. And I want to thank you very much for that. And I want to thank my representatives, Terry, Gerald, Vincent, for bringing you here. Today I'm representing the T.M. Landry College Preparatory Academy. I want to make you aware that they're looking to expand throughout the state. The first step is to move from Breaux Bridge to North Lafayette. They had, thank you very much. They had great offers to go to South Lafayette. Wonderful facilities were made available to T.M. Landry. But they decided to pass on all those deals and to go to the heart of the area in this particular part of Lafayette, where the greatest need is for great education, where the failing schools are located, where poor black children live, and that's North Lafayette. They're looking to move to Baton Rouge. They want to open up in August of next year, and they want to locate in North Baton Rouge. And they want to bring poor black children into the T.M. Landry School and to continue to demonstrate to everyone in Louisiana that a poor black child is capable of the highest in academic achievement. One of the things that T.M. Landry does when a kid walks onto their campus, they first get into the mind of the kid because they recognize that there's a connection between what that Confederate monument represents and what it has done to the minds of poor black children in Louisiana, where it is making them believe that they are not capable of the highest in academic achievement. So one of the first things T.M. Landry does, they get into the minds of these poor black children and make them realize that that is a myth, the myth of white supremacy and therefore their black inferiority, that they are capable of the highest in academic achievement. So we're looking forward to moving into these other areas, also looking to open up in New Orleans in August of 2020. So we'll be reaching out to you and asking you for your support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Davis and I don't agree on everything, but I do know that he's an advocate for education, especially those kids that are underserved, and we appreciate your efforts. And thank you. I just got a text this morning from Bill Dorey, who's a personal friend of mine for some 30, 40 years. He just wrote two $25,000 checks to T.M. Landry, one for operations and one for a scholarship. So the Caucus has hosted T.M. Landry, as you know, in our retreat, and we've seen him at the Capitol. And I think I can speak for everyone here that we support T.M. Landry in his efforts. Thank you.
Members, we have, I had an opportunity to speak with the provost. Can y'all wave your hands? These individuals, they have an issue going on. If you guys watch the show Queen Sugar, they are being attacked and denied some basic rights. They're in this area. Mr. Chairman, I wanted them to come so the members could see them because they reached out.
Could y'all stand for us, please?
All right. Thank you. And they reached out. I actually heard from them twice through a colleague in Arkansas as well as one of the workers in the state. But they reached out and going to be assisting some efforts with the caucus. They have some USDA issues, and Congressman Richmond, his office is working with them. And I wanted them to come and show you guys that we're definitely going to try to reach out and help you guys in here. Thank you.
Thank you. Hold on, Vincent. You take the last leg. You want to go eat? I want to acknowledge Congressman Cedric Richmond, our only Democratic congressman and African American in the U.S. Congress. Darlene Fields, are you here? Still there? She must be at the hall. But touch base with Darlene. She will help you and get your contact information for any issues that you have. Before I give the mic to Representative Pierre, who seems to be in a hurry right now, but
No hurry at all, Representative Mayor. We're here to hear the constituency.
Anybody from the governor's staff still there? Okay. Tell the governor this is not a new suit. This is a rental. Again, I really want to thank my colleagues and people again who traveled near and far to come be with us today. I am really a better person to have known and served with all of you. And I just thank you. What's wrong, David? Yeah, I just thank you for taking time out of your schedule and coming and help us and presenting this town hall. And I think they really deserve it. A lot of this stuff is about a Democratic government, right? Let's cut through the chase. A lot of this stuff is about a Democratic government. And if we don't get out and vote, we're going to be in worse shape than we are now. And be looking at some of these people on the statewide ballot, because I think we can turn the tide. I think we can win some statewide ballots, but we just have to have the support and the turnout of the people. So again, I thank you for taking time out of your day. I hope this was informative for you, and I hope you got something out of it. Representative Pierre.
Thank you, and thank you all for coming today. I just want to thank on behalf of District 44, because they are right in the entrance of Lafayette. But thank you all so much for coming to share such exciting information for us, and it's really, really appreciated. And listen, today is a very, very important day. The governor will be here at UL Lafayette. And we just ask that if you can, at 1 o'clock, he's going to be at UL, is it Fletcher? Hurricane Long Hall. He'll be there. And we just ask that you guys come out and visit with him and let us have some show of participants at that event. And again, thank you all for coming.
Just as you're walking out, to bring all of this together, I want to let you know that the representatives here support the community action effort. Tonight, while y'all starting the new session, we will be here talking about solutions to all of the economic development, education, health issues in this community. So we thank